Hi everybody. I hope you can hear me. If you can put a few things on, just tell him that you can see me or hear me, because I'm not sure what's happening with it at the moment. So it's all new to me. So people coming on now. So obviously we can see it. Brilliant. Right. So I just want to say a few things. I want to thank Clive Branson. Me and Clive go back a few years now. And crikey, we used to see him at World Championships and things like that. And I was there when he come second in Strasbourg in France, when we fished a mighty river team match on the Saturday. And then on Sunday they put it on a little canal for them that had qualified, and top four in your section qualified. I come fifth. I lost out with an ounce. And then he went on a little canal, and Clive drew MPEG, and he caught some chub and he come second. But then year after in Coimbra in Portugal he won it, and I was 5 pegs off him in the individual final, and I think he beat Kevin by an ounce or something like that. It were just one of the all fish were down there end, and they came to me late until I caught him in the last half hour, and I think I was about 8 ounces off actually winning it myself, and I come fourth. So I know him from then, and of course in Plovdiv when I won the individual, Wales absolutely paralysed. It fished an incredible weekend they did, and fair play to him. It was a good time for Wales at that time in the 80s, and of course Clive were a big part of that, and they had some really good anglers, and I still see them today, some of them, and you know when I go down on River Circuit and everything like that. But I just want to thank Clive for asking me to come on today. So the format is this. I've got a dog decided to wake up and jump on me, so I've got to try and stop him. Here he goes. Say hello, Ben. Hi, Ben. Say hello to everybody. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you a little story from the past to get it started, and then I'm going to do a question and answers. I've got a couple of questions that already been asked, and then obviously some will come along and see. But my first one, I'm going to tell you a little story, a bit Max Bygraves type thing, and I'm going back 37 years, would you believe? And with Clive being on, Clive's a river angler, and is no, don't jump on there. And he's an old school angler as we call it. So I want to actually talk about something from that era. 1983 it was, and it was the World Club Championships, and it were in Italy, and it were a place called Parma. Now this place was a great experience, but to get in the World Club Championships, it just started. It'd been going about a year, and the previous year Essex County had won the national, and if you won Division 1 national you qualified for the final. Now Essex County actually won the national, they went to Italy, and it were on the Arno, and what happened was Essex County won it. They won the first one, and Bob won the individual on the Arno. And it were really well. I'm going to have to put dog out. You're going to have to excuse me, everybody. Come here. Oh, he's not coming now. So it were on the Arno. The year after the national championships, Rotherham actually won it, and they won it on the Unspill. Oh, just a minute. Come here. Sorry, everybody. Come on, scram. Typical. He's been asleep all morning. So. Anyway, we're on the Unspill, and we come second, Barnsley. Rotherham actually won it, and they beat us with 2 points. Fished brilliantly, to be fair, and they beat us with 2 points. We were a bit gutted, but that's how it goes. So we thought that were us done, and all of a sudden Rotherham decided they weren't going to go, which I still think to this day they should have gone, really, because it's an incredible experience when you go abroad and everything. And but anyway, so that gave us the chance to go. So what happened was, off we went. Dick did all arrangements. There were me, Dick, Keith Hobson, Dennis White and Ivan Marks, and it were a 4-man team. And it were on this little lake in Parma in Italy. And although I'd been to Italy once before, this is the trip that really got me hooked and fell in love with Italy. And of course what happened is we've got there, and we were sponsored by Daiwa at the time, and we met a bloke called Mario Molinari. Now this bloke is turned out to be a lifelong friend, one of the nicest, probably the best man I've ever met. Incredible human being, absolutely awesome. But before we went, we were told, don't trust these Italians, they'll stitch you up, they'll do all these things, and you've got to be careful with them. Well, we didn't know. So anyway, off we went, gets up plane, gets there, and Mario Molinari turned up. introduced himself, took us to hotel, got digs booked, sorted bait out. Unbelievable. Too good to be true, to be honest with you. So anyway, the second day, we've got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's took us down to the lake. And when we've turned up, we were gobsmacked. This lake was like it was a park pond. It was like, wow, it was like, you can't believe the size of it. And in the middle of this lake, there were a little island. Although it wasn't quite in the middle, it was just off centre a little bit. And it was weird. It was just like, how are they going to put 20 odd teams on here? Teams of 4. It's ridiculous. So anyway, we get fishing, and we got there, and we were literally 4 yards apart. That's how close we were. We couldn't fish anywhere else. But on this island, of course, it draws all the fishermen, and everybody wanted to cast and fish to this island. But because it wasn't central, it was quite difficult. But there were floats, everything whizzing to this island. So they decided to put numbers on the island, like A1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around. And literally, the numbers were together like that. So you just cast to your number. Well, it was, you can imagine what it was. It was ridiculous. So anyway, Dick objected and said it's not feasibly possible, this, because there were people casting from an angle across. So anyway, they decided on the Friday meeting on the night, they would scrap the numbers. And the rule was this: you had to fish in front of you for 10 metres. 10 metres in front of you. After that, it were a free-for-all. You could cast anywhere in lake you wanted. In other words, you could cast in somebody else's peg, as long as it were past 10 metres. And we were all, what? You can't do that. But that was the rule. That was the rule that they come up to. So what happened was, we've been fishing all week. We caught some fish on a waggler, and we caught a few fish on a pole. Little carp, little chub, just little fish. There was some bleaking. But literally, when I said we were 4 metres apart, that's what we were. So anyway, Dick's gone in drawback. Dick left himself out, so that it was me, Dennis, Keith, and Ivan. So that was the team. But the build-up to this is quite interesting, because what happened was, it was that warm that week, it was red hot. All week practicing, it was like you couldn't stand on the concrete. It was unbelievable. And what we did was, we used to get up at 6 in the morning, go fish for 3 or 4 hours, because you couldn't fish in the afternoon. Then we used to go to the local swimming pool. And we gone to this swimming pool, and they were like, it was packed every day. Siesta time, 12 while 4. There were loads and loads of Italians there, like, I don't know, 200, 250. It were outdoors. And of course, there were 12 crazy Englishmen. So what happened was, we used to swim about and everything, but on this, they got a diving board. And on the diving board, there were a springboard at the bottom, then there were a 5 metre board, and then there were a 10 metre board. Now, this 10 metre board, right, was like Olympic size. Now, you know when you fish with a 10 metre pole and you put it out in front of you, nowadays, it doesn't look far. It doesn't look, because we're used to fishing 16 metres, it doesn't look a big distance. But trust me, when it's up in the air on a board, it looks miles. And if there had been any cloud, trust me, it would have been in the clouds. It was massive. And not many people actually dove from there. But every so often during the day, maybe 2 or 3 times, what would happen is the lifeguard would stand up, blow his whistle, and that means clear the pool. You cleared the pool, and you looked up, and there was some brave man going up the final steps to go off this big springboard. So all of a sudden, whistle's gone, we've looked up, and there's a bloke going up there, and everybody starts going, whoa, chanting like that. And this brave bloke used to get up to the top, walk to the end, 3 somersaults, wash straight in water. Round of applause, get in there, what a man. And that's how it was. But Keith Hobson said, I can do that. I can dive off there. Of course we're all, go on then Keith, get on with it. So, I'll see you later in the week. You can't do it, get on with it. And every time somebody went up there, this same procedure. It only happened, trust me, 2 or 3 times during the afternoon. But every time Keith said, I can do that. So, and we just get egging him on. So Friday came. We finished fishing, got our stuff sorted out, gone back, last day at the swimming pool. And all of a sudden, lifeguard goes on and there's a whistle. And there's a whistle. And all of a sudden, we've looked up. And our hero, Keith Hobson, is walking up the final steps. He'd done it. he's walking up the final step. Well, of course, we're all jumping on his feet now, chanting, England, 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 like that. It was fantastic. Our hero and all that. He gets to stop, looks down, walks to the end, turns round and starts coming back down steps. And we're all going, what's going off? He'd chickened out. And he started coming down the steps. Now, all of a sudden, we're on his backs with laughter. We're crying with laughter. But he's now got 250 Italians all booing him. They were all booing him like you can't believe. It were boo, it were proper loud and everything. They weren't happy. Now, I've known Keith Hobson nearly 50 years, right? And I've never once seen him embarrassed. He don't get embarrassed. I've never ever seen him embarrassed, but he got embarrassed. And as he come down, he got to 5 metre board, pushed everybody out of the way and run and dove off the 5 metre board, landed, went straight down and his trunks come off. So as he hit the water, his trunks are laid on top of water like that, and he pops up, put his trunks back. Well, we're dead. We've gone now. We're absolutely rolling about like you can't believe. And we just couldn't believe what he was doing. And Keith and they're still booing him. All these people are still booing him. And he gets out at thing, walks to us, and he went, well, it was a bit high, that, wasn't it? And just went to go drink and sat down. Honestly, when I say it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, it were the days when you really, really wish you'd got a camera on a phone so you could take Keith Hobson that day. Because trust me, it would have broke Facebook. It really would. So anyway, these Italians were at him all afternoon. So, anyway, back to fishing. So, anyway, we've gone to fishing, we've caught a few fish, and it's on this lake. And it's in the middle of Parma. You can't believe where this lake and the size of it. So, what I'm doing, right, I've drawn my peg, Dick's left himself out, I think, he was captain. All 5 of us could have fished, really, but it got Ivan and me and Dennis and Keith Hobson, and I think him being captain felt, that he perhaps should have run the bank, and that's what happened. So anyway, So basically, I've drawn this section. I can't remember what section it was to this day. And so I've gone to my peg. And I've got a big German at the side of me, big German bloke. I'm not sure on what other side. But I got my 13-foot rod like that. And as I went like that, I could touch him. I could touch the anglers. That's how close we were. So I've got to my peg. And the island now is just a little bit. It's not in the centre where I am. It's just a bit to my right. So the German's set up and he's gone whoosh. And he's cast straight to island. And his line actually went there, like 4 metres in front of me, and I've gone, no, you can't do that. And he's gone, yes, the island, and he's going like that. I'm going, no, you can't do that. And I said, so I got my 10 metre pole, and I put it out in front of me, and I went, now cast it island. And he went, The steward come down, and the steward went, no, you can't do that. And he went, yes, okay, 10 metres, and he explained it, and he were okay. So anyway, we started fishing, time's gone, and now I'm fishing a waggler. I cast out with double maggot on. I got a little carp like that first cast, then another little carp, probably about 20 metres, 25 metres, then another one, then I got a bleak. So in practice we caught better putting a little bit of worm on. I put a little bit of worm, only about half an inch or something like that, cast back out, and I started catching these little carp. Now you've got to remember these are 3-hour matches. You only had 3 hours, you were straight into it and it were over and done before you could blink an eyelid. But I'm catching these really well. And after about an hour, I can't remember how many I got, maybe 30 or something like that. All of a sudden, this float come and landed at the side of mine. Then another one come. Then another one come. And everybody, the great big floats up and were casting, so they were in front of me. And at one time, I actually sat there with a hook in my hand, like that, and I couldn't get in my peg. I couldn't cast in my peg, and all these floats sat up. But they're only mine going under. Nobody else could get a bite, but I was getting one every cast in. And at one time, like I said, I was sat there and I cast out in front of it, going, and I catch these little carp. Now these fish were between 2 and 4 ounce. And then when I got to about an hour from end, we had some keep nets, and these keep nets were that big, 2.5 foot. We ring about that big at top. And I was putting them in my net, and my net were getting full. So I called the steward over, and he brought me another net. And it was the first time I've ever fished with 2 keep nets. They were that big. And when I was putting the fish in, the fish were just flapping in the top like that with their heads. So I actually had 2 nets. But this particular part of the day, I cast out, I hooked a fish, and I'm bringing it in. And the German hadn't got a fish at this time. And I saw his float go under, and I thought, oh, that's gone into his line, that. And I'm winding and winding and winding like that. As I've lifted up, it's in a right ravel. And there's a fish about 3 ounce hanging from it with 2 lots of gear. And the German's gone, my fish, my fish, my fish. And I've gone, no, 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 Pickering, Pickering. And we were arguing, and all of a sudden, I'll never forget it as long as I live, this Italian steward come down, as cool as you want, went, it's okay. There is no problem. No problem. Like that. Got the tattle, and he went like that, and he undid it, and it just sat, and we stood there with his rods looking at him like that, and he went, Pickering! And give me the fish. I went, get in there! 1-0 against Germany, perfect. And I just kept catching them. And I finished up, I think I had 93 or 94 of these little carp. And I finished up weighing 17 pounds something, which were about 8 kilos something. Not a little fish like this, but I was getting one a cast. And I finished up, I won my section, and I finished up winning the match. And I finished up becoming world club champion. And I think next weight was something like £7 or something like that. And I just had a great match, just kept catching plenty of fish. And I got a great big trophy. Well, it's still got it. It weighs £35. That's how big it was. But more importantly, for me personally, is a little bit disappointing. Well, we came second. And Italian beat us, the locals beat us. Two of them caught bleak, and we weren't bleak anglers in them days. And they actually beat us by catching bleak. But we were so unlucky because Ivan was opposite me and he was struggling. And then he's hooked a carp, like a kilo, with seconds to go. He's pulled it to try and get it in, gone like that with net. He's missed it. It's got back round his net, and as he's gone to net it, they've shouted time. If he gets that carp, we're world club champions. It was as close as that. So it was a bit disappointing, really, the fact that we come second. But, you know, in them days, we were a new team, a new thing. It were all new to us. We weren't used to international fishing. And you look back now and you think, actually, it wasn't a bad result. Coming second to Italy, in Italy, is not a bad result sometimes. You can't really argue. But I got my first ever gold medal at World Championships. We got a silver medal with team, so I come on with gold and a silver. But what an incredible experience. You can't honestly tell you how good that experience was. It got everything started. It learned us about international fishing. We became great friends with a lad called Mario Molinari, who to this day is still a lifelong friend. And I can't honestly tell you how good that man was. One of the best men I've ever met. I can honestly say that, hand on heart. And he looked after us, spoilt us. And we had a fantastic week. We went for a couple of days holiday after that up to Big Garda Lake. But we had a fantastic time. That was his first experience at international fishing with Barnsley. And that was World Club Champs. I won the individual, we won the team. The more important, we saw Keith Hobson chicken out, which is something you don't see so often. So I hope you enjoy that little story. It gets us all started. And like I said, that were a great time for us. So I'm going to try and answer some of your questions now. So I've got a couple of questions that have already been asked. And so these have come from, yes, this will get us started. And Gary Etheridge and John Dickey put a question on about, I used to be known as a Bionic Bleaker. And did I use whips? And what did I use ground bait? And what sort of rigs did I use? Well, in the days of Bionic Bleaker, there were no tattle, there were no rigs. It were pretty basic, to be honest with you. But let me just tell you something about Bionic Bleaker. I'm writing a book at the moment, and this book will be out later in the year, and it's called The Bionic Bleaker. And I've done 28 stories of my life, like the one I've just told you about. So while I've been in lockdown, I've managed to write it. A lad called Alan Barnes is actually putting it together for me regarding the proper stories. As he said, I've wrote it in Yorkshire and nobody understands it outside Yorkshire, so he's writing it in readable Yorkshire. So that's coming out later in the year, something to look forward to if you're interested. But Gavin, we didn't have real whips. What we had 4 metre telescopic poles, and they were quite thick at the end, and all we did at the end, we put a piece of rubber. We used quite thick lines so it didn't break, size 16 hook, and a little porcupine quill that we used to cut the ends off so they were rounded, and we used to use porky because it were quite heavy and it used to make a noise on the water for the bleak to come. 16 hook, I think it were in 9140 in them days, and we used to just thread it on. We just used to lose feed. I mean, John's asked me about did we use cloud ground bait. We never used cloud ground bait in them days, it was just loose feed. But when we moved on to international scene, we learned all about cloud ground baits, and we learned what to do. Because when you go abroad, I don't know whether it's because of the temperature, but the bleak seem to be deeper, and you never catch them loose feeding. You actually catch them just putting cloud in, so you're clouding all the time, make a nice cloud, and the fish come into it. But in them days, we just used to put maggots in and make them boil on the surface. Then you used to slap on the top with this porcupine quill. And what I used to do is, when we got them boiling, we used to throw a maggot in, and when it hit the water, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And if a bleak took it at 4, you used to strike at 3. And that was the idea. So you strike, 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 like that. 1, 2, 3, strike. 1, 2, 3, strike. And if you can get 20 casts in a minute, but you can only catch 3 bleak, that's perfect. Because 3 bleak over 5 hours is 900 bleak. And if you caught 800, you'd have £25. So that was the target. Just keep striking like that, feeding, strike, and that's all that we did really in them days. Anglers do it different nowadays. It's all done a bit different. But of course, we had no gear. We didn't have whips and lines and special floats and things like that. We made all our own gear. I just had a 4 metre Shakespeare whip, and at the end it was quite thick. It was really crude, to be honest with you. But that's the only gear that we had. So that answers that question. Paul, I think it's Watson, he says something about, did me or Dennis catch a catfish on the pole in the final? No, that was Tommy Hillier. That was in the, I can't remember what final it was, but he caught a 40-odd pound catfish. I think it were on feeder, I don't think it were on pole. And he caught that in one of the big DFDS finals, I think. A 46, I mean, incredible feat in them days. Even now, I mean, to be honest with you, but in them days it was just somewhat special. He also asked how Dennis was, Dennis White. Well, Dennis is a lot better, thank you very much. We thought we'd lost him at one time, I'll be honest with you. But he went walking bank the other day, and his sons took him out a couple of times just to have a run round. So he's on the mend, but thanks very much. And anybody out there that sent wishes, thank you very much for all that. It meant a lot to family, I can assure you. Timothy Ford. Did I go to church on the Sunday after winning World Championships? No, I didn't. And this story comes from when I went to World Championships in 1989, with about 5 minutes to go. It were close, and I said, if come on God, if you send me if you send me a cap, I'll go to church on Sunday. 10 minutes, a few minutes later, float's gone under, clunk, up this hooked this cap, pulled its head off, lifted it straight on, netted it like that, in air, put it in net, time went. Now I never went. And I didn't go because I didn't need that carp. I thought, oh well, I don't need to go, so I didn't go. So 1990 comes, Saturday, World Championships, dry netted. So he's, give me that. Sunday, day 2, dry netted. So he put his foot on my head and basically said, that'll teach you. And on Sunday he went, that'll really teach you. Don't ever do that again. So no, I didn't go to church, and I paid for it the year after in 1990. I double dry netted. I cost England a gold, and that's what it is. I didn't go, and I paid for it year after. I'm not religious at all, but whatever it was, it got me back. Now Clive's asked me, what age did I fish from? At this time, you can start putting questions on, because I'm going to start looking at the questions after this. Well, I started at 6 with my Uncle Jack. You know, in them days, I went to see my Uncle Jack and my Auntie Elsie, and Nightmare's watching. Now then, pal, are you all right? And he used to take me fishing. I went to Rye Hill and places like that. And my first fish were on a little bob float. You had a little bob float for a worm, and I caught a. Sir Bob Nudd watching as well. Nice to see me, old pal. And that's how it started. I think most people, certainly in them days, that's how they started. They just went to local pond with the dad or the uncle or whatever. and caught a perch or a roach or something like that, and that's how it all started for me. And when I got a bit older, I started going with, I come from a mining village, started going with lads and everything like that, and they were absolutely brilliant with me. They spoiled me, to be honest with you, and they made me the person that that I am nowadays. And let the dog in, Tom. I was doing me heading, to be honest with you. I've got roots that come from South Kirby. I'll never forget them roots. I'll never forget what them people did for me. And I worked out pit for 10 years. I come from a mining village, and when you were there, if you do it wrong, then you've got to clip it back at head. Don't do it again. And if you did it, well, you never did it twice. You never did it wrong twice. You really didn't. Otherwise, you got a proper good hiding. But yeah, it was my Uncle Jack really that took me, and I was just obsessed. I was just obsessed with sport, like most people are. And all I wanted to do was go fishing. I didn't want to do anything else. And even to this day, I'm as keen, maybe in a different thing. I'm not best pleasure angler in the world, but I love going match fishing, and I love competing, taking people on. So come on then, let's have some questions. Everybody, let's have a look what we've got here. You have fished with some great anglers, Tommy. This is from Clive. Who did you admire the most? Well, I've really got to. The most two natural anglers I've ever seen is Robert Trabucco and Kevin Ashurst. They were the most natural anglers I've ever seen. They could go get a branch and start fishing with a twig and everything like that. They were most natural anglers I've ever seen. They were incredible. But of course, my old pal Dennis, what he's done for me is my favourite angler. The best angler I've ever seen is probably Alan Scotton. I think if you've won world champs 5 times, you'd be entitled to be called that. But I've been really lucky as well, because I've fished with the best 4 anglers ever, in my opinion. Kevin Ashurst, Sir Bob, Dennis and Stevie Gardner. They were the best 4 anglers I've ever fished with. I've fished with some great anglers. I mean, Will and Alan came at a later time, people like that. But them 4 were just unbelievable fishermen. I feel proud and privileged that I've been able to fish with them. And they're just incredible people. And us 5 were just unbelievable. We just wanted to win all the time. And of course, you've got Sir Richard there, who just drove it into us, really. I'm only seeing one thing: gold medals. And what we did and what he did in them days is still coming for now. Everything that happens now is because of what happened in them days. But them 4 anglers were just incredible human beings. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Right, come on, let's have some questions. Kev Richmond, hey up pal, it's seen you for a few times, my old pal. Let the dog in, I wish I could. Hi from Thailand, off Malcolm Taylor. Tell the truth, you hate pleasure fishing, from Sir Bob. I do hate pleasure fishing. I am actually the worst pleasure angler in the world. But put somebody outside of me to fish with a pound and I want to rip their heads off. Do you ever use elastic in your whips? I have a lot of whips with elastic in. No, not really, to be fair, no. Oh, crikey, what am I pressing here? I never have, really. I've always used whips with the flick tip in, and then we elastic through running poles. But I've caught bleak with elastic, short lining it, really fine elastic, but never with a whip. Graham Wall, hey up me old pal, have you got a beer in your hand? Would you like to see a 13-metre pole limit by Matt Drinkwater? Now, that's a good call, actually. Now that I'm 65, I'll probably have to say yeah to that, to be honest with you. But I'm not a fan of limits, I really aren't. I think there should be 16-metre limits. But I get the question, and if when you go abroad, you always feel a bit restricted because they have like 11 and 13-metre pole limits. But what it does do, it makes them do other things like fish wagglers and other styles and bolognese and things like that. So it does bring other things into it. But personally, no, I wouldn't. I see both sides. Maybe in club matches you can go 13-metre pole limit, but in open matches I certainly wouldn't. Personally. Right, let's have a look. I'm trying to. What we done here? I've gone off again. I've done it again, haven't I don't know what I've done here, lads and lasses. Everything's gone now. What am I doing here? Can you see me? Oh no, what have have I done? Oh, I'm back. Are we back? I pressed the wrong button, that were all. Right, I'm trying to get questions on. Come on, somebody, put a question on. Here we go, let's have a look. Andy Oldham, hey up my old pal, how you going? Kevin Dix, crikey, Mark Downs, Kev Richmond. Come on, let's have some questions. Afternoon, Tom Andrew Lightburn. Andy Kinder. Everybody's watching, but nobody's asking any questions. I can only answer your questions if you put them on. Aaron. Right, Matt Winker, not with your snoring, apparently Nick Speed. Oh, he's horrific, mate. You just can't believe. Oh, he is Speedy. Question for you, mate. Are you a heavy sleeper? Not where you're about. Nobody is. That's a certainty. Come on. I'm not getting no questions. I can only answer your question. Never work with animals or children. No, you're right there, mate. Oliver Scott on. Well, if you're not answering some questions, you'll have to make something up, won't I? Let's have a look. Come on, don't be shy. Here we go. Really, Roy Marshall, Mrs. My Match Fishing. Hope you'll get it to Ireland this year. Not looking good for travelling. No, I don't think it is, Roy, to be honest with you. I think we're fishing matches back in England now, so, but I'm not so sure we're going to be fishing in Ireland. And another question is, do you want to go? Do you want to get on a boat and everything like that? I'm not so sure, especially at my age. I'm not so sure that I'll be going to Ireland, to be honest with you, and I'll miss it like mad. I'm in the assumption now is let's get this year over with. We can fish in England and then we can go back to Ireland next year, and that's what I think. David Hargreaves, will Leeds United get promoted this season? You know they will, me old pal. Tell us about Usher and Will. Tell us about Dave Usher on world record peg in Denmark. I'm not mentioning out about my world record because that's in my book. I'm saving that story. Alan Barnes, my old pal, is writing the book with me. You should be writing my book, not watching me on Facebook. What is your favourite style of fishing? A good question, this. I get asked it quite a bit. I'm going to kill my dog, by the way, when this is over and done with. What is your favourite style? I don't have one. I've never ever had a favourite style of fishing. And as a young kid, and people say, oh, it's going to be feeder because that's what you do. No, it isn't. I ain't bothered what type of fishing I do as long as I win the match. That's all I'm interested in. Now, every angler has his strengths and weaknesses of what they do. And probably my biggest results have always been on the waggler. Certainly in the old days, a lot of my results have been on the waggler. So, probably if it were my favourite, I'd have to say waggler. But I've never tried to because I've always thought I'm more interested in winning the match. And if you have favourite styles, you tend to choose yourself favourite styles. That's what you tend to do. So I've never been a fan of actually doing that. So I don't have one really. I like all kinds of fishing, and I enjoy pole fishing. I enjoy waggler fishing. I enjoy feeder fishing. I try to be sort of maybe not the master of none. But I can do a little bit of everything. So I've never had one, in all fairness. Dog might start barking, my son's back now. So I hope that answers the question. Do you regret the years you missed in Ireland after the bomb, Tommy? Now you've got the bug again. Good question. Now, in 1983 I won the Classic when the bomb went off. And I didn't go back to any skilling for 27 years. And I've done a story in my book and explaining why I never went back. I've never told anybody. If you buy my book and you read it, you might get it a bit better why I never actually went back. And there's a reason. There is a reason for it. I'm not going to say it here. I want to save it, this one. But I should have gone back a bit earlier. and I think it's because you get wrapped up with things. What happened was, when in about 2000 I realised I wasn't going to get picked for England again. Mark and Mark went in a different direction. That's fair play. I ain't got a problem with the record's incredible. But I realised that I want part of their setup. Now I have my life. I've got to have something to aim to. So I went commercial fishing, and I turned to commercial fishing. I thought the only way to do it now is that's my life now. England's finished. I've got to go commercial fishing, and that's what I did. I changed all my tackle. I got rid of all my tackle. You won't believe what I got rid of and what I changed to. And I went commercial fishing. So I'd forgot about Ireland then. I never thought I had to go back to Ireland. It were only when the Feeder World Championship started that I actually went back to Ireland, and it was that got me back into it. And then I realised, one, it changed, incredible place, and two, I should have gone back a bit earlier. I left it too late, but what I didn't realise, because I'd gone commercialism, I didn't realise it was 27 years. Because when I rang Enniskillen tourists to book on, she says, "Have you been here before, Tommy?" I went, "Yeah, 17 years ago." When I went Classic, she says, "It's 27. I didn't realise it was 27 years I've been." And I went, "Wow, I didn't realise it." But I'll tell you one thing, I'm glad I did go back, because it is absolutely incredible. I went back to Enniskillen, me and Mick pulled up to the chalets, and that look from the actual hotel looking up that valley is incredible. One of the best views ever. And we pulled up there and fell in love with it straight away again. And I can remember that week I took a photo off my peg on phone and sent it to our Emma, and every day she went, "Where's that?" I went, "That's my peg. That's my peg that I'm fishing." She said, "It's beautiful. Should be on a postcard." I went, "I know, every peg's like that." And I just fell in love with it again, and I love it, and I just love the place, and the people are fantastic. And anybody that's thinking about going back to Ireland because they miss it, the fishing is different. It's not, there's not all them bream there and everything like that, but the place, the people, and the scenery is outstanding. If you're thinking about going back, go back. And the Guinness is still the same. So I'm told, by the way. You know, I don't drink like so, but I'm told it's still the same. But it's a great place, but I've got the bug again, and just not going like we should have been there now, last 2 weeks. And I mean, Bob's just thinking, he goes to 7 weeks this time of year, and we just love the place. And I fell in love with it again, certainly. So if you're thinking about going back, get it booked when you're allowed to, when we can get back on ferries, and go, because I promise you, you won't be disappointed. So yes, a bit of yes and a bit of no. But there was a reason why I never went back on Classic. And anybody that buys me book, it's in the story. And even Alan Barnes, who's writing the story for me, had to put his pen down and ring me, because it upset him a little bit. And so that tells you a little bit about it. All right, let's have a look what we got. Harry Jackson. The original Barnsley Black, Harry Jackson. I'm going to tell you about Harry Jackson. He just go up his put. "Hi Tom, good to see you. Tell us how Dennis is progressing. Regards, Harry." Now, Harry Jackson comes from Stockport. He doesn't now, he lives abroad. From Stockport. Now, I don't think many people know this, but when the Barnsley Blacks started, the first name that was ever used, Harry Jackson was in the team. And what it was, we went to Dunham Bridge. And we'd been on the Saturday, and I'd won the open match there. And then we had a bank holiday Monday. And there were me, Dennis White and Alan Sefton went to fish the match on the Monday. And in them days, you used to put a team of 4 in. Just write it down on thing. And I think it were a Rotherham match. And we put it down, and we were 1 short, us 3, and we needed 1 more. And Harry Jackson were on his own. And said, "Are you going to go in for us?" And he went, "Yeah, I'll fish with you all 3 alike." And so I put names down. I went, tested him, "What are we going to call it?" He went, "Barnsley Blacks." I said, "Barnsley Blacks?" So I put Barnsley Blacks down and put it down and put it in. So Harry's won the match. Harry won the match. I think we caught not me, Alan and Dennis. I think we had about £2 between us. But Harry won the match with, I think, £8. So we've gone back to presentation. He's got his money. They shouted teams out. In 3rd place, Barnsley Blacks. And everybody just burst out laughing. And everybody were laughing at the name. And so we've got his money. Drove home, I says, "We should start a team called Barnsley Blacks," to Dennis. He says, "I think so." I went, He says, "What shall we do?" And that's how it started. Harry Jackson, who fished for Stockport, He was one of the original four. Me, Alan Sefton, and Dennis and Harry Jackson. Great to see you, mate. I've not forgot, and I won't let people forget. Great you've come on, mate, and all the best. Keep talking. Somebody says, oh, I'll talk a glass eye to sleep. Richard Brooks. Tommy, are you fishing Hayfield this weekend? Not this weekend, but I'll be looking at it, and I've been keeping contact with it. I'm not sure what I'm doing this weekend yet because match fishing only started yesterday, so I ain't even looked. But I won't be at Hayfield, but what Noel has done there is quite well. To be honest with you, we've got a few lakes around here, but Lindholm and Hayfield, what they've done for social distancing is quite staggering, really. I mean, fair play to them what they've done. A lot of these places have been fishing matches, which is disgusting in my opinion. But them two haven't, and full credit to them. Have a look. How often do you walk the dog? Once. All right, Tommy, from Ben Cook. Have you been to Lindholm lately? What's your favourite pond? At Lindholm. I'm presuming you mean Lindholm, Ben. Well, to be honest with you, I quite like them all. To be honest with you, I think my favourite would have to be probably Loco. We fish there all the time at winter. And I really like Loco, but to be honest, I'm not really bothered. They've all got their own little ways. The one that I really love, but it don't like me, is Bonsai. It just don't like me. Whatever I seem to do, it seems to be the wrong thing. But all the lakes are full of fish. There's plenty of fish in them all, and I don't really have a favourite. I'm not a favourite kind of person. If you have favourites, you do it wrong, in my opinion. You should be practicing for all kinds of things. Richard Brook. Tommy, would you fish the deep water on the deck at Hayfield at this time of year? Right, well, Hayfield, it's got Adams and it's got Island Lake, and they're very deep. What it is, Richard, it's all about space. If you've got space, you'll catch them shallow, and you'll catch them on a waggler shallow, either pinging on pole, and if you've got space, you'll catch them in the edge. If every peg's in, usually you've got to fish the bottom. So you've got to keep your options open. It's all about space. If you've got space, they'll come up shallow. But when everybody's casting in and fishing round you and firing baiting, you've usually got to catch them on the bottom. But at the end of the day, don't go with an open plan. Never go with a fixed plan in your head. Never do that. Always have something, but always go with an open mind. There's no point going thinking, I'm going to fish bottom when they're all jumping out and topping and swirling at your pellets. So you've got to have an open mind. So the fish tell you. What I mean by that is if you're fishing and you're firing pellets in and they're swirling for them, it tells you they're shallow. But if you're casting in and not getting no indications, no bites, it tells you that the fish are deeper. So you always have a bomb and a feeder set up, and you have a waggler rod set up shallow. So work it out on the day. But one of the key things about Hayfield is a 2+2. Just there, it's where the shelf is. One of the best lines, especially in the last 2 hours at match. And you always feed that line. Wherever you do out there, whether you catch them on a feeder or whether you catch them on a waggler, you always throw bait there. Just keep throwing pellets there and have a rig set up. And I always look for like 6 foot of water. So you can just go like that and just keep feeding. So when you're feeding that line, what happens is, if you start getting bites and indications, and you think they're shallower, you either put a shallow rig up or you come further up the shell into the feeding depth and try and find that feeding depth. But it's a great line to fish at Hayfield because you're on the ledge. The fish feed, they're coming from that depth out there and they're coming and they feed on that level. But never go with an idea, think, that's what I'm going to do. Because the fish will change it. You can only do what the fish tell you want to do. What you've got to do as a fisherman is work out where they are in the water, what depth they are, and try and catch them at that. Even this time of the year, you won't believe it, especially when every peg's in, the bomb and loose feed pellets is very strong. So as you're loose feeding pellets, you can loose feed, cast a bomb over, but of course then you can put your waggler over the top if they come shallow. So as you'll fire your catapult pellets in like that, you're watching for swirls and fish coming to it. And that's what you do. So as soon as you see them, you can pick your waggler rod up. Never go with an open mind. Will these get promoted? Of course they will. Right, I'm hoping to... this is from Mark Williams. Are you alright, my old pal? Maver through and through, this lad. I'm hoping to be fishing a festival at Hayfield this August. If we're... if we're allowed out to Wales. No, it's shut in August, Wales, mate. You'll not get there. Any tips? The easiest way, Mark, is quite simple. Contact me week before and I'll put you right with what I know. But you'll love it, honestly. The lads at Hayfield are different gravy, honestly. They're from this area. They're cracking lads. And trust me, you'll have a proper laugh. And if you can drink, Graham Wall will put you right. He'll take you to the right places. So that's your drinking thing sorted out, right? Noel will look after you. She knows you're coming from Wales. She'll look after you. But the best thing to do, Matt, or anybody else for that matter, if you're coming up to... I'll probably be on the match anyway. I would think in August on the festival. Just contact me week before and I'll let you know. And if I'm fishing, I'll still tell you. You know, it don't bother me. I'll help anybody, as you well know. Just contact me a week before. But one thing about Hayfield is it's all pellet fishing. You'll want to be, and it'll be fishery pellets. You'll have to do all that. But if you're coming up, you'll have a great time. You'll be well looked after. Trust me, and you'll meet some proper Yorkshiremen on this one. And what I mean, I'll tell you another story. What I mean by this is these are proper men. In 1990, when we go back to the story about did I go to church? No, I didn't, right? And I come back and I were in a right tat. I were in a right mess and it were a bad time for me at that time. And I was married to Anne at the time. We're not now, but I was married and I must have drove her nuts for family for a couple of months. I were in a right mess. I didn't go fishing, I were in a right tat. And she kept saying to me, get yourself fishing, get out of the house, you're doing me head in, get out fishing. So I did eventually. I got my tackle and I went to Hayfield on a Wednesday. So I've gone on this match and I've turned up and there were sellouts, so 14.50. I think they're only Adams Lake then. And you used to park your car at car park, walk right corner, and there were a wooden hut. And they used to queue. And I got there like, and honestly, when I said I didn't want to go. I pulled round and I walked round about 30 of them there. And as I walked round the corner, every one of them went like that, looked at me. I went, oh, crikey. So here we go. Now, Yorkshire people don't hold back. They say it as it is. And that's how we are. We know how it works. Somebody shouts, hey up, Domino's here. And I'm going, Domino? I'm looking at it and somebody went, double blank. And I just burst out laughing. And they actually helped me come round. And I just burst out laughing. Domino, double blank. They're cruel sods. And when I was fishing, when I used to fish, they used to whistle blankety blank theme tune to me. Blankety blank, blankety blank, blankety blank. And that's what they used to sing to me when I was playing fish. The horrible so-and-sos. But believe it or not, that helped me. It brought me round, it made me laugh. It made me smile again. I could have killed them at time, but that's what they did, and that's what they like. Straight as a die, say as it is, and that's how we are. But trust me, Mark, if you come up here, you'll have a great time. You'll be well looked after me. Contact me a week before. You get me on Messenger, and anybody else that's coming from outside area, you're more than welcome to do that. Stuart Lister, how are you, mate? Lee Noble, Tommy Pocket says, hi, what's your favourite fish to catch? I'm going to shock you all now. My favourite fish to catch is dace. I love dace fishing. And one of the reasons why I like dace fishing is, and I bet some of you are going, what? Like that now, but I love dace fishing. I was brought up with it, and the things I love about dace, when you cast in, you could get a bite there, and you could get one at the bottom, but you always had to be alive and active. And you always had to be on the move. You catch them on the bottom, you catch them on the surface. And I was brought up with it. I just love dace fishing. If I had one day left to go fishing in my life, I'd want it to be going fishing on a river, fishing for dace. Say hi to Pocket Rocket for me and all, by the way. Danny Chetwood, as you're writing a book, what is the best fishing-related book you've ever read? Quite simple for me. Brain Fever by Bill Taylor. I'm not a book reader. I was crap at school. I hated school apart from probably maths. I was always good with numbers. All I wanted to go fishing. I used to go to the library, even as a kid, and I bought, and I get this book called Bream Fever, and it were all about Bill Taylor and a couple of other lads who used to go bream fishing on the Thames, and I read it 4 times. I used to read it, I sit there reading about these bream, and in fact once we used to go to Kirby Res, where we used to go, and we read this book 3 times, and we thought, and they always filled it in, got to the peg and chucked all this ground bait in, and we thought, right, we'll do that at Kirby Res. We'll catch them breams. We'd heard about these breams. Only a little pond. So we got all us in them. You didn't buy any ground bait. You got some mashed bread and mashed it all up. We got a great big container. Of course, we've gone down to Kirby Res, members only. We've got a place called Black Bank where all Pit Slurry used to be, and we used to fish on there. Thought, that's what we're going to do. And there were 2 other members opposite. So we stood there and we chucked all this ground bait in like you can't believe. I mean, it was just like a World Championship bombardment. There were 3 of us. I can't remember. I don't know whether Carl Bradford was one of them. And I can't remember. I think there were 3 of us. And we chucked in, started fishing. We caught a tench, 1 fish. But ground bait got banned on fishery after that. They had a meeting about ground bait, and that were our fault. And we didn't catch out anyway. But my favourite book of all time was Bream Fever. Oh, here you go, Ollie Scott. I know what he's referring to. He's put, smash them number 1s. No, I didn't smash them. I put them in a pyramid like that. Because what it was, when I started going commercial fishing about, I think it was 2001, I says, that's it. Number 1s I don't ever need again. I took them all out, put them in a pyramid and burnt them so I could never put them back in Paul. So I know what he's on about with that one. Yeah, I did. And I soon had to go find some more a couple of years later. Oh, yeah. What's the lowest weight you've ever won a match with? Oh, that's from Craig Walker. That's a good call. I think 12 ounce. I can remember winning a match out with him when it was flooded with 12 ounce. But I can remember fishing a match. Nicky Harrison caught 1 fish in the whole match at Home Pier Point. But I'll tell you a little story. There was a Swan Vesta qualifier, which you qualified on a match and went to the final. And I caught a stickleback that big and qualified for the final. I could see it inside, and young Alan Taylor was sat with me. And I says, if you see that fish flash again, tell me. And he says, it's there. So I got a right little maggot, cut it off and went like that, and I caught a stickleback. And I qualified. You had to finish, I think, top 3 in your section. And there were only 1 other fish caught. So I qualified for the final, which were at Home Pier Point. And I think it was worth 5 grand to win, and I won that. So I won that at Home Pier Point, I think 5 grand. But it was a stickleback that got me to the final to win the actual final. So that were a nice bonus. But I think I won a club match with 2 ounce once, years and years ago when I was a kid. But I think an open match, 12 ounce. I think that were. Question from Dave Berry. Do you miss the heydays? Hey up my old pal Dave. Do you miss the heydays on the Trent? Good question. I miss parts of it. But one of the things I'm really happy about with what's happened with my career is I had all that. Then it went to commercialism. And then it's come to the feeder. So I think if you had the same thing all your life, I think I'd have been bored, if that makes sense. You wouldn't have known any different, I know that, but because of the way my career's done, I've gone through the old school fishing, what we call, I've done commercialism, and now I've done the feeder. So I think I've been very lucky in that respect, the fact that I've changed and managed to do all them 3 things. But I think there's more fish in the Trent now than there's ever been. I think there's more fish. I mean, you go on the Trent now, it's just unbelievable. There's big fish, there's little fish, there's more dace than you've ever seen. I mean, I go an odd time pleasure fishing and I go down to Burton Joyce on the... If you go on the road stretch at Burton Joyce, along there, it's ridiculous how many fish there is. Just full of fish. I go there doing an odd video, and I've took a couple of people coaching there. But it don't matter where you go on Trent, the river, there's more fish in the river than there's ever been. I mean, I can remember going on Trent and like in the winter especially, and having 6 dry nets on Trent in the winter on Burton Joyce Opens. If you drew above the Ferry Lane end, you couldn't get a bite. So it wasn't all great, but the learning and the lads and everything that go with it were just spectacular. But I don't know whether I miss it or not. I've quite enjoyed my change. The only thing I wish I'd have fished a couple of more matches for England in early 2000s. That's the only regret really that I've had, and everything else has worked out well for me. I wish, with feed, I wish I'd have not been manager, so I could have perhaps had a chance of getting it team a bit more. But then, end of the day, between us all, we did a good job to get the feeder thing set up. But I don't think I do really, because I think I enjoyed my time in commercialism, and I met some great people there, and they're still good friends to this day. So I don't think I did really. Matt Benwell, hey up mate. All right, Mucker, John Toy. Right. Rover match at Whiteacres, and you pull out number 1 peg. Oh, which one do you go to? Oh, that's a good question. Nowadays, I haven't been for 5 years, so I wouldn't know. But probably, I think Twin Oaks, 12, 14, 16 won't be far off my list. I don't think, but it might have changed. I'm on about the days when I used to go. But what you've got to remember is time of year. Work it out before you go where the fish are. But one of the things that sometimes takes people by surprise is space. Sometimes you're better off going to an area that's not great, but you won't have anglers all the way around you. But I think if I were number 1, I think I'd get on my bike, and I think I'd be down at Twin Oaks, probably 14 or 16, and I bet them 2 pegs have probably won more matches down there than ever. So that's probably about it. But you've just got to do your own work. If you're winning a rover, see, sometimes it's an advantage to come last out of the drawbar, because you can look at the board then and look where the space is, and you can bet your bottom dollar if you've got plenty of space, you'll probably have a good chance of winning it, because when all the anglers are together, the fish will be you'll not catch as many. But I think I won't be far off 14, 16 on Twin Oaks. Right, Tommy, from Malcolm Taylor. Tommy, you were the inventor of angling shows like the current big one. Tell us the story. That's, good question. Thank you for bringing that up, Malk. 1988, we started, me and Anne, we started the National Angling Exhibitions at Doncaster Racecourse. And we started there, and we did a brochure. Ken Melton did me a brochure. And I always felt we should have an angling show. And, but not for selling, but to display the goods. And that's what we did. We did a brochure. I said, come on, let's just try it. I sent it out to all the customers. The very next day, John Middleton, John Thompson from Dyer and Shakespeare rang me up, booked four straight away. Of course, I've got the biggest tool companies in the country on my book, so I could sell it from them then. Sold out at Doncaster the first year. I think we got 6,500 people come through the door, and then the year after we had it there again, and then it realised it was getting big, and I can never forget the queue at the second one. It was unbelievable. And then the third year we decided to do one in South at Sandown Park. So we did Doncaster Racecourse and Sandown Park. Just 1 second, everybody. Thomas, can you sort the dog out? Sorry. And we did Sandown Park, and we did Doncaster. And then I sold them. Somebody came up. I realised that they were getting too big and we needed to go to the National Angling Exhibition. Thomas! Kids, don't have kids. Whatever you do, don't have kids. Or dogs. And I wanted to go to Birmingham to NEC. And but I rang up, and it were 100 grand just to hire the room. And it was like 100 grand. Anyway, somebody came up and bought the shows from me. And that's what happened. That's what we did. And I sold them to this bloke, and he took them on. So that's how it all started, really. It was Doncaster Racecourse and Sandown Park. So that's how it started. I sold them, then they moved on, and different people have done them. So, right. Have you favourites? Do you have disappointments? Keep an open mind. Yeah, always keep an open mind. I like that. I think that's good. Yeah, family are well, thank you, pal. Oh, would you believe I've got a parcel coming now? Do you think if more people fish rivers, sport would be better? Just 1 minute. Thomas! Sorry. Right, listen, I'm going to have to call it a day, lads. I've been on for an hour. Really sorry, I've got to go. I've got somebody to do. I've got kids and everything like that. Thanks very much for Clive for asking me. Really appreciate it. And I hope I've answered your questions and you've done it. I'm sorry about this. I've got to go. Really sorry. All the best, everybody. And see you on the bank soon. Keep safe. Stay at home. Bye.